So, good morning, everyone. My presentation today is about the digital mindset that everyone needs to have in order to implement new technology in construction. So, to demonstrate that, I go through what BUM Ireland had to go to understand like 5 years ago, and how we evolved in the use of new technologies, and how this process is still an evolving process. So, my name is Sergio Pinheiro. I'm originally from Brazil. I'm living in Ireland for 10 years, and I'm working with BUM for 2 years. Together with Simon and our team in the digital construction department at BUM Ireland, we developed this presentation. So when we look at BUM Ireland 5 years ago, we started to implement our technologies. At the beginning, it was everything new. We didn't have a clue of what we were doing. So we decided to start with BIM36 platform. It's a platform from Autodesk. And at that point, we considered ourselves digital newbies. But when we start with our first project, we start, like the way that we implemented BIM36 to our project was through the health and safety department. And at that point, we were implementing the checklist for the health and safety. We started to understand and manage more our process, and that we start to grow. Once we finish that project and we started the next project, we had all that knowledge that we acquired from the previous project through the health and safety department, and then we started to have a more defined process. We started with the health and safety checklist. We have the quality checklist now that wasn't being used for the users on site. And then we also started to use the idea or the concept of equipment sets that we can start to manage more. And as we move on, we start combining all these technologies. We started to create kind of a digital handover at the end of the process, until we get to a point that we were considered kind of a market-leading capability. If we look at most players in Ireland, we would say that it would be above average category. But this journey happens, doesn't matter if it's a person or it's a company. Everyone starts as a digital newbie at some stage. So for example, if we take an iPad today and go to the construction site and give that to the most senior person on the construction job, the person at first, he's gonna be afraid to use the technology. So once we start showing them how to use it, the person got familiar with the app, with the iPad, then start using more, like he install apps inside of the iPad, and that becomes better for him. Like he improves his day-to-day activities, and like it reached to a point that it's waiting for what's the next technology, what's coming next. So the point here is that doesn't matter who you are, how much you know. At some point, if new technology is coming to the market, you always start as a digital newbie. So within BUM Ireland, once we started our new technology, we took the concept of digital twin. So for every project now that we have in BUM Ireland, we have the digital twin. And then I would say 80 to 90% of our projects, it's using this concept. We use the models for everything, for quantity takeoff, for scheduling, for 3D coordination, and so on. And then we start looking at different technology. Prior to BUM, like 5 years ago, when we started with the new technology, we would go to a site and whatever was there, like we couldn't do anything. But now with new technology, we can use laser scanning, we can use drone, and we can assess the site before we actually start working on it. So there's all these new technologies that improve our process and help us to adapt to get better efficiency. Then, looking at the equipment sets or the use of barcodes or QR codes, within BIM360 platform, we have these that we track assets. So for us, an equipment set could be anything. Could be a part of the slab of the floor, could be a wall, could be a chair, could be a jigger. So using this approach, we can capture all data digitally, and we can capture anything that is relevant for us to our process. Then we move to laser scanning. This site is, in particular, it's a really good exercise that they did there. So we have all these technologies in-house at the moment. So this was like we can show here. It's kind of a laser scanning for the volume calculation. So the person goes to the site and calculate how much cut and how much fill. But then we decided to do an experiment. We gave the same technology for a graduate student for him to experiment. He take that, he went to site, and he started using the laser scanning. If you look at the bottom left image, he laser scanning the cables that was holding the wall for the piling. And then he went back to the office. He imported that laser scanning to Revit, and then he clash detected that the cables, it's actually clashing with the piles that's going to be installed on site. And like nobody told him to do that. Nobody taught him how to do that. He just went and go. So that's the idea what we are trying to do. We are trying to provide them with the technology that make it easy for everyone to work on site. Then the same happens when once you finish the project, we can then go laser scanning the entire building and then use that scanning for data validation. So the combination of the laser scanning, the as-built model, with all the data that is captured digitally, we can then provide that digital handover at the end of the project. So BAM, when we decided to implement digital in construction, we adopt the BIM 360 platform, or the Autodesk platform. That go from design, where we use Revit, then pre-construction and construction that we have BIM 360 Glue, BIM 360 Field, and that goes to handover and operation, that it's BIM building ops. And we decided to have this single source of data because then that allows us to actually use the prediction and analytics of Autodesk. So now what we are doing, we are using machine learning and artificial intelligence to look at all these data and bring all that information to us kind of in a way that is easy and simple to understand. So Construction IQ is the software that we are using. It's from Autodesk. And basically, he looks at the data and brings the most important items that considered to be key issues in the project. So here's a quick video of one of the how we implemented Construction IQ in our projects.
The ability to have machine learning point you in the right direction and shine a light on issues is a really powerful thing.
BAM is a European-based multinational company. We work on all corners of the globe. We currently have projects from Antarctica to Alaska, across the Middle East and across Europe.
BAM is a company that has a real strong vision on digital transformation. We are saying in our company, we built it before we built it.
We want to make sure we absolutely nail the construction sequencing, the design, the delivery methodology before we have to hit site.
It's in our interest to make sure that errors don't propagate from design through to the full operation of the project.
From design through to construction through to operation, you can generally look at a factor of 10 between each of those phases in terms of the costs.
So the factor of that $24 issue at the start, at operation is a massive change.
The importance of data to a project is becoming more and more apparent to us every minute of every day.
It's very difficult to really focus on the right thing, from AutoCAD to Revit, but also technologies like drones on our construction sites, like 3D printing, IoT, and all these technologies create a lot of data that we're using in our projects. Then the magic happens using BIM 360 Construction IQ to really inform our project managers, giving them better insight, helping us to be more proactive instead of reactive, to make it possible for the people on the project side to be able to focus on the right topic.
Construction IQ is a primary feature of the BIM 360 platform, which utilizes machine learning. So what this is now meaning is we have the ability to leverage all of the different data sets from our BIM 360 platform, be it our field work, our design issues, etc., so on and so forth.
Not only can we look across all of our projects and see what's happening at an overall company point of view, we can drill down into individual projects and see how they're performing and see where we may or may not have issues within those projects.
It's like a guiding light in the background for us, helping us keep tabs day in, day out as to where the challenges may be on our project.
It has a massive amount of technology behind it. There is machine learning, there is AI in the background, churning away, looking at all our information. But that doesn't matter. You can't see it. You turn it on and there are your answers. It's seamless. We're currently sitting in the trailers for the Brewery Quarter project in Cork, Ireland. Currently the student accommodation phase is finishing up and we're doing our final snagging on the bedrooms for the student accommodation.
The project has over 1,000 rooms. We're seeing real-time data captured almost daily, if not hourly.
And we're graphically allowing the site team at a project management level and at an inspector level or a site foreman supervisor level to graphically see all the list of information in very simple to read graphs.
We have our safety people, we have our quality inspectors that walk around on a project with a tablet to really collect all this data.
We've been able to bring the technologies into the hands of the foremen, talk them through how to do their checklist, use of their iPads correctly.
I felt initially it was going to be quite onerous, but having used the iPad and now using it on a daily basis, I see instant benefits.
Walking around with an iPad, capturing their checklists, capturing any issues or problems that they find, being able to take a photograph of them, store them centrally and report out in the information was a very easy way for us to introduce digital technology onto a site. Because we've captured so much data, we'll be able to go back in the future and mine information from that that'll allow us to grow and develop new processes and better processes moving forward.
If you are a small organisation or you're starting that digital journey, you've got to do it. You have to do it. Take some advice. Number one, it's start. There's value in it. But number two, pick a product with a platform like BIM 360. A product where you don't have to worry about siloed information. It's all there, and that's the beauty of the platform.
So, as the video showed, we started to use Construction IQ to understand what are our mistakes, what's the problem that we have on site. So, if you look at this, it's one of our projects that finished early 2018. And then, if you look at the number of overdue issues that we have, it's around like 1,600 issues, 1,600 issues that were still open when the project was finished. And then, if we look at the risk, like through the Construction IQ, we see that BUM Ireland was the biggest, like the highest risk for themselves, for ourselves. So we need to get that better. So through IQ and through our, we have tried to adapt our approach. And now, if you look at one of our earliest projects, we brought that value, that number, down to 27 issues. And then these 27 issues are all related with items that they were delivered on site, they were installed, checked, but they now need to be checked again when the project is finished. So looking at this project now, BUM Ireland, it's kind of the low risk point. And the ones that we have now on top, it's kind of the auditors and the inspectors that they have to go on site, they have to go raise issues, they have to check everything that is happening on site. So because we have this all these data that is now available for us in a way that it's easy to understand, we can go back now to the design and say to people, look, do not design the building this way, because that's a problem. Construction IQ is showing us that this is a mistake. Be careful the way that you're doing that, because it's always looking at patterns. So, and then what happens is, Construction IQ will go and give you that this item, it's a high risk. But then the project manager can go and say, look, this is not a high risk. This is a medium risk. This is a low risk. So the machine learning and the AI start kind of understand the patterns, understand what is important and what's not important, and then give us this learning curve that we now can apply for all the future projects. So then we look back to the first slide where I have this journey that everyone's go through. So it doesn't matter if you are like really good in a technology, because as soon as new technology come, you always start again as a digital newbie, or you have to adapt and then be in one of the middle stages. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the great presentation. I want to see if we have questions from the audience. Yep.
I have a question regarding the QR codes.
Yes.
So you use that for your own assets that you own, machinery or whatever?
Yeah, it could be for anything. At the moment, we have the QR codes to track a room. So we can then place the QR code on the door frame, and then when you go to the inside of the room, you can scan the QR code, and that's going to bring all the equipment that you have inside of that. And then you have all this link that's nested between that room to equipment. And then could be for a wall or like a floor that you kind of do in the pouring sequence. So we create these equipment sets that then can be printed, or the QR code you can generate based on a unique ID, and then that can be used on site.
Okay, and do you or are you considering to have also this integration of QR codes with your subcontractors, that you get like QR codes already input on assets before they come to site, so you can scan, okay, it's on the way, it's installed?
We don't have that yet, but as soon as the equipment is delivered on site, we can then place it, and then we can go and track the life cycle of the equipment. So when was delivered, when was installed, when was commissioning, and that whole process, it's in place and happens in several projects.
Thank you.
You said that you'd introduced BIM on the back of health and safety.
Yes.
Did that give health and safety a bad name, or did that give BIM a bad name?
Well, it wasn't only BIM. Like, we tried to implement, like, bring new technology through the health and safety, because we saw that like they were the ones that were filling up the most of the checklist. So we kind of wanted to start with them. That was one way that we could implement BIM. Not BIM itself, but the whole technology.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Right. How much of these is in pilot projects, and how much is actually across all projects?
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
So you showed a lot of different technologies.
Yes.
You showed QR code being used, and to the answer to the previous question, you said it could be used for X and Y and Z.
Yeah.
So that led me to the question: is how much is actually pilot projects, and how much is actually being deployed in all projects?
No, all projects have all the QR codes. So all projects within BAM, we have the concept of using the QR codes. And then we also have the laser scanning for validation at the end of the project. We have the checklist that's implemented. So all what I showed here, it's all in live projects that we have now.
One more question.
You said you learned from the past project, and how do you solve the problem of the uniqueness of the project? And for example, what specific scope or scale of the project do you learn from the past one?
So in this case, we were looking not only the project that were from BAM Ireland, from the BAM as a group, and then that would basically look at keywords. If it's water leakage, if it's kind of patterns that happen in different projects. So the machine learning, it's looking at these patterns and give us, this is a high risk. So there's a leakage in the roof, so that's considered a high risk. But if it's because of the construction, we then go, okay, that's a high risk. But if it's because something happened, that it's kind of one event that happened, the person can go and change that particular issue, that particular problem to a low risk because it's not going to happen again. So it's all based on what it's inputted from previous projects.
Thank you, Sergio, for the great presentation. Let's give him another round of applause.